If you are in a relationship and somebody is constantly demanding of you that you support every single statement you make, it gets tedious in a hurry, and before long you move on. So in all these ways, the sort of scientific insistence that we must have evidence to support everything doesn't work. In the realm of the personal, trust and commitment are extremely important. There's some other things that science assumes without proving, and all you have to do is see the behavior of scientists to see this. Scientists exhibit a version of faith in their own activity. Scientists take by faith that the world exists, that the world makes sense, and that it's worth trying to find out how the world is put together. There are other things that are true necessarily, not factually. They're true because we can ask if they're true. I think there are three questions of this nature. One is the question, do I exist? Now think about that for a minute. Do I exist? How would I know if I existed? Well, a philosophy student once asked a famous teacher, "Professor, how do I know I exist?" And the answer was, "And who is asking the question?" If you can ask the question, you have your answer, see. These are what some people call the transcendentals of knowledge. There's another one, perhaps more pressing to many of us, and that is the question, am I free? The more science tells us about the way we're put together, about the fact that we are responding to the influences of early childhood and maybe to our chemical makeup and our genetic composition, the more we seem to come to the conclusion that very much about us is determined by factors over which we have no control. And so the question arises, are we then free at all? If you can ask that question, it shows that there is freedom there. You cannot deny that there is someone asking the question as to what all these influences mean. And so there's a question that is not of a scientific nature, but certainly puts us in touch with dimensions of our experience that tell us something significant about reality. I said there were three such questions. Do I exist? Am I free? The third one is this. Is there a God? We don't have time today to unpack that question and try to answer it in a way that will meet all of the challenges that it faces. But I think we find that sort of question on the same level of experience as these other questions. It's not on the level that science typically investigates, and yet it is a level of experience that is meaningful and significant. Let's try to draw these conclusions together. Immanuel Kant once said that he destroyed reason in order to make room for faith. To a certain extent, we've been doing that here. Not destroying reason, but trying to look carefully at the contours and the outlines of reason. Reason is indispensable to human knowing, but the process of rational, deliberate investigation, which looks carefully at every claim and seeks to overcome all possible objections before accepting an idea, has its limits. Scientific cosmology presents us with a challenging choice. There's a radical disjunction between two irreconcilable views of humanity. Either human beings are creation's crowning glory, or we are nature's cruelest joke. For the universe to have produced at last beings whose distinctive quality is their capacity to see that reality has no meaning, no purpose, and no future, for them is the height of irony. On the other hand, suppose the apprehension of meaning, value, and significance in ourselves and in the world is truthful. That sense of meaning tells us about the way things are. And so we face this question, are we at home in the universe or not? That's the great alternative we face. Science alone cannot answer that question. We must turn to religion for an answer, and what to do with that answer is something that faith will decide. We've dealt with some challenging topics today, so let me try to summarize the essential points that we've made. Faith and reason both have a role to play in our experience. Thinkers can believe, and believers can think. Second, trust and doubt both contribute to the way we know. We shouldn't emphasize one at the expense of the other. Third, science and religion are compatible. In spite of the widespread opinion that they don't get along with each other, they do. In fact, they're much more closely related than many people think. And finally, one way to show that science and religion are compatible is to show that experience is larger, more comprehensive than sense experience. If we look carefully at the full range of our experience, we discover apprehensions of meaning and value that science does not consider. This is one place where we experience God, and this is where religion finds its meaning.